Hello everybody, so is the XR4i the coolest Sierra with its model-specific body shell and trim that screams, I am from the 80s? Well, let's find out. My name's Chris and welcome to Retro Ratchet. Now, its party piece is definitely that soundtrack. Let's do a little pull out here. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? Proper old school V6 soundtrack. Can't beat it. Well, you could if it was in a race, mind. Do you have a 70s, 80s or a 90s retro car that is rarer than one of these and you'd like it featured on the channel? Then please reach out and get in touch. Okay, a wee bit of history here. So replacing the trusty old Ford Cortina, the radically designed Sierra, which some described as a jelly mould, got off to a very slow start. So despite being very modern, the underpinnings were very traditional Ford. So here today to review we have a 1984 XR4i. So this was unmistakably the hot version. These ran between 1983 and 1985, later replaced by the XR4x4, and then in 1986 the mighty RS Cosworth who everybody remembers. And what really interests me about XR4i's is the fact that they produced a body shell exclusively for this model. So yes, you did get three-door Sierras, the base models and the RS Cosworth, but they didn't have this extra back window, which is what makes these unique. Let's get started with style and then what do you guys think? You either love them or hate them. I actually quite like this. Paintwork on this one is very much in your face, this metallic blue. And I'm not so sure about the contrasting red pinstripes that are running along the side, how well they actually go with the blue paintwork. I don't know if you could class this as two-tone. I mean, you do have this dark grey panel along the bottom here, which Ford did do in the 80s. You've got these 14-inch trademark Ford pepper pot alloys. They suit it pretty well. And then, of course, you've got this unusual arrangement with this little rear window here, complementing this one. Now, if you do look closely, it does say XR4. They had ordered these apparently before they decided to change the name to XR4i, so that's why there is no I on it. Even I'm not convinced with the style of these things round the front. They do look a little bit awkward and a little bit unfinished as well, in my opinion. With this grille arrangement and the lights in particular, I just don't think this all works out together. So I guess I can appreciate why people didn't really take them for a while back in the early 80s. Fortunately, round the back, things get a lot better. Now, you've got this double spoiler arrangement here. Now, again, this is pretty unusual to see a car with two rear spoilers. Pretty cool. And then you've got this wiper kind of nestled here in the middle. When you look at this, you can actually see the wiper is got a little cutout to accommodate that spoiler there. So 10 out of 10 for that for me. Proper retro that. You've got these big red decals in your face, XR4i. Quite a deep bumper there in the back, again with that red pinstripe. So good exhaust. This looks like a stainless system on this one, maybe a 2-inch tailpipe there. I think this is definitely where it's best photographed from. Right, what's my first impressions after jumping into the XR4i? Disappointed or impressed? So, a couple of things. It's a very comfy old cruiser, this thing. The seats, the driving position, the way the suspension is set up, and secondly, it sounds pretty nice. I think that's maybe due in part to the stainless steel exhaust system that's been fitted. It does sound a little bit fruitier, I reckon, than standard. Okay, let's get a wee look around this interior. I guess first thing you notice there is these doors, they are huge. They weigh a ton. Very, very big, I guess, being a three-door car, to allow access for the rear passengers. Now, seat material, I don't know about this. These ones do look a little bit dull. I was expecting something a bit brighter. I mean, even on the door trims there, you can see the big red stripes. So I was expecting more red maybe on these trims. This looks more standard, like maybe an L or a GL model would have. So that's a little bit disappointing. The seats are very comfy though. I mean, there's support there right the way up to underneath your knees. You've also got lumbar support there, and the headrests are pretty decent as well. Like I said on the test drive, the driving position is great for me. You can reach everything, so ergonomically it's well set out. So I guess for the very early 80s, this interior will be considered really, really modern. And today it's really, really retro. Again, you have this very, very neat information system here, which shows you if you leave your doors open, if the lights are on, that kind of thing here. You've also got a low coolant warning light there. You've got low fuel, seat belt, that looks like washer fluid. Maybe that one was actually oil. And that one, definitely coolant. And there we have brake pads by the looks of that. Incorrect stereo fitted here. This is more early 90s, this one. And then you have cassette storage here for your 4 favourite cassettes. So one thing I really like about this era of Ford's in-car entertainment systems, a lot of them came fitted with this little joystick here where you could fade or you could balance the music in the car to whichever speaker you desired. I mean, probably quite peculiar now and overkill, but yeah, back then, such a cool feature to have. So really like that. And in the dashboard here, we have this red piping round here and the same around the horn. So that does bring it up a little bit. And we've got our fog lights and our heated rear window and our rear wash wipe switch. So what is a little bit of a surprise is it isn't fitted with front electric windows. You know, we've got windy windows here and we've got electric mirrors. So yeah, you would think if it did have electric mirrors, it would come fitted with electric front windows. So that's a little bit odd. And then sunroof up here, manual windy sunroof as you would expect of something this age. So let's talk a wee bit about how this feels to drive. It's definitely quite softly sprung, very light and very easy to drive rather than it being a stiff sporty ride that you would get on some sporting derivatives. The pedals themselves, the clutch, the brakes, the accelerator, super light in feel. The gearbox on this one, gearbox, kind of still undecided on. I mean, I guess it's all right. There is quite a long throw. I mean, it's reasonably precise. I don't know, it's just a little bit woolly for my liking. But I mean, it's all right. There's nothing actually wrong with it. I just wouldn't like to be trying to change gears too quickly in it. Brakes bite right at the top on this, which is reassuring. Okay, so what's under the bonnet of these? Well, Ford's trusty 2.8 Cologne V6. These things don't put out that much power. I think these are 148 brake horsepower and about 159 pound-foot of torque. Book speed, not the 6 in these, was about 8.4 seconds, although it does feel a good bit slower, just to me. But again, these cars are getting on a bit now. You've got Bosch fuel injection here, you've got this metering head, so yeah, you see a lot of pipe work going to the injection system, and this one's very, very tidy. It's probably had a restoration at some point in its life, but yeah, there's certainly no holes or major corrosion under here. It's very, very neat and very tidy, but there is still tons of access, even though this is a V6, you know, to get in and change spark plugs and things like that, get in and change the alternator or alternator belt, or get into the engine mount. So it does look like quite a reasonable place to do maintenance, quite straightforward. And it's fitted with a 5-speed manual gearbox, obviously rear wheel drive. So I think one important factor for anybody who buys an XR Ford is performance. How does it go? Right, we'll do a wee second gear pull here, see what you think. That's it floored. Hear that lovely soundtrack. Do a wee third gear pull here, 2,000 revs. 30, 40, 45, 50. That's us at 60. So I wouldn't describe it as quick. It's certainly carrying a lot of weight. This one, what I've observed is it doesn't seem to like to rev. There's maybe a little bit of a fueling thing going in there, because from what I've heard from other reviews is they do like to be wound up a bit to get the most out of them. Right, I'll give another wee squeeze in second. Definitely hits a bit of a wall, this one, just over 4,000. Now you're at 60. Okay, so now we've reached the end of this review video for the XR4i. So what do I think? To be fair, I was a little bit underwhelmed with it. Sorry. Performance, like I said, this one hits a wall at about 4,500, doesn't really want to rev anymore. So I think we were lacking a little bit in performance. Things I really didn't like, the steering's actually really heavy when you're manoeuvring about. So if you're in a car park, getting into space, that kind of thing, getting in your driveway, I found it really hard work. So could do with power steering, I think. Gears, so although the gears are kind of okay moving forwards, see when you're trying to get reverse, it was a bit of a toss of a coin if you were getting reverse or you were getting first. It wasn't obvious which one you were in when you were trying to go backwards. So that caused a little bit of difficulty when I was out filming, trying to get the car spun around quickly. So yeah, I wasn't appreciative of the reverse and I wasn't appreciative of the heavy steering. And 8.4, I think we're a fair bit off 8.4 in this instance. But on a positive note, you know, it sounds nice. In terms of appearance, I am a little bit torn as well. You know, I love the double rear spoiler, you know, the red stripes and stuff, which don't really go with blue paintwork, but I still think that is pretty cool and retro. The front end, I don't know. I'm not really a fan of that layout on the front of these early ones, I have to say. An interior, again, the interior is a little bit of a letdown in terms of the fabric on the seats. We're missing all the red piping that you get on the door trims, around the dashboard and around the horn. The instruments and switchgear, I think, are pretty impressive though. These extra readouts you get for different warning things that are going on around the car. And I do like the earlier Sierra instrument panels like these. You know, it even tells you how many litres, you know, and the various different bits on the fuel gauge. So that's pretty cool. So overall, I'd probably say no, I would not buy an XR4 and add it to the fleet. But it'd be interesting to try an RS Cosworth to see how that went. So if you happen to have one of those, reach out in the comments section and we'll do a review. And I'll see you all next time.